Police headquarters. Just a second, please.
Homicide Bureau. Sergeant O'Brien.
This is James Morris speaking from Edward Cunningham's residence in Oak Knoll.
Yes?
Mr. Cunningham has just been found dead in his bedroom. I've called his doctor, and he suggested that I notify the police.
You did the right thing. What's the address out there?
1837 Oak Knoll.
1837 Oak Knoll. We'll have a man right out.
Yes?
Where's Captain Reynolds?
Out on the call.
Ryan back yet?
No, sir.
All right, send a man in to hold the desk down. I'm going out on a suicide.
Come right in. I'm James Morris, the man who called you.
I'm Sergeant O'Brien.
I suppose you'll want to go right upstairs.
Yes. I haven't met this gentleman.
This is Mr. Collins, a banker.
How do you do, sir?
How do you do, Sergeant? It's a shame this had to happen. We've all been...
Who's the lady in the next room?
Jane Wilson, Mr. Cunningham's niece. She's rather hard hit by what's happened. You see, she was very fond of her uncle. She's been practically a father to her, and...
Did your doctor arrive?
Yes, he's upstairs now.
Did he pronounce Mr. Cunningham dead?
Yes, sir.
Which one of you discovered the body?
I did, Sergeant.
Where were you at the time?
Sitting down here smoking a cigar. I was startled with a shot and went upstairs to investigate.
Where were you, Morris?
At the drugstore on the corner. Mr. Cunningham had just sent me on an errand. You see, I'm Mr. Cunningham's secretary.
And where was Miss Wilson?
Upstairs in her room. We both met in the hallway outside Mr. Cunningham's room.
Had she heard the shot?
Yes, and she was investigating it the same as I was. I went to the door to Cunningham's room and knocked. There was no answer, so I opened the door and went in. I suppose Miss Wilson and I both saw him at the same time.
I see. Well, we'll run upstairs and see the body. If you'll accompany me, Morris. And, Mr. Collins, if you'd be so kind as to step into the next room and ask Miss Wilson not to leave until I have a chance to talk to her.
Very well.
Lead the way, Morris.
Right up these stairs. Oh, I can't say why he did it. He had everything he wanted. He's never spent a depressed moment as far as I know.
Men do funny things at times.
Right over here. But Mr. Cunningham is the last person on earth you'd expect to commit suicide.
Why do you say that?
Because he got so much fun out of living. Edward Cunningham was a born gambler. Not a professional, mind you, but he loved his cards. That's why Mr. Collins is here tonight. They had a game scheduled.
Just the two of them?
No, there was another gentleman, a man named Brady. He often played with Mr. Cunningham and Mr. Collins.
I see. And, Brady hasn't shown up yet?
No. He called at 6 o'clock telling Mr. Cunningham that he would be unable to come this evening. Mr. Cunningham seemed greatly disappointed. Here we are. This is Dr. Wood, Sergeant O'Brien from headquarters, Doctor.
Oh, how do you do?
How do you do? What's the news, Doctor?
It looks like an out-and-out case of suicide, Sergeant. The body was found just as it is. You'll notice the wound and powder marks on the forehead.
Yes.
A gun is just beyond his hand where it must have fallen.
How long has he been dead?
Only a very few minutes.
He left no note?
I didn't see one.
Did you, Morris?
Why, no.
Well, it's customary, isn't it, for a suicide to leave a note or something?
I'm sure that you're in a better position to answer that than I am.
You say that Mr. Cunningham had sent you to the drugstore for something, and that you weren't in the house at the time the shot was fired.
That's right.
What had Mr. Cunningham sent you after?
A box of cigars.
Oh, I see.
Well, I've done all I can. You've sent for the coroner.
No, not yet. I'll do it as soon as I've had time to look around.
Very well. Well, I'll be leaving if I'm no longer needed.
Just one question, Doctor. Is the body lying in a natural position for a suicide?
Yes, I'd say it is.
And there's the usual amount of powder grains about the wound?
Well, there's one thing that doesn't quite come up to standard. There aren't as many powder grains as I've seen in other cases, but of course it's a rather small gun, but even then there should be a few more powder marks.
Just what I was thinking. Well, thank you, Doctor.
You're entirely welcome. How's Miss Jane, Morris?
Better. She's a brave girl. She'll pull through all right. However, you might see her as you leave. She's in the study.
Yes, I shall. Well, good day.
Do you know of any reason for Cunningham to kill himself?
No, I don't.
His business affairs are in good shape?
Yes, sir. He was a very wealthy man. He had no worries.
Will Miss Wilson profit by this?
She'll inherit his money, I believe. However, she really doesn't need it. She has $1 million or so of her own.
I see. Were Cunningham and Collins on friendly terms?
Oh, yes, sir. They've been friends for years.
And this Mr. Brady, who was scheduled to appear tonight and didn't?
I can't say about him.
Mm-hmm. Was Mr. Cunningham in this room when he sent you for the cigars?
Oh, yes, sir.
Uh-huh. All right. Will you step down and tell Mr. Collins that I'd like to see him?
Certainly, sir.
Mr. Collins, you've known him for 20 years and have never known of him to be in any trouble of any sort?
That's right. Why, there's no one who'd want to kill Cunningham. He was always kind and thoughtful.
You were here tonight for a poker game, I believe, Mr. Collins.
Yes, we make it a custom to play twice a week.
The stakes run pretty high?
Fairly so. We make it interesting.
Mm-hmm. How much are the normal losses during an evening?
Oh, I should say 10 or 15,000.
Well, you do make it interesting.
Well, that's all a matter of viewpoint.
What do you know about this fellow Brady who found it inconvenient to show up tonight?
Very little. He was introduced to me at the Clover Club and is a gambler from the word go. I think Cunningham enjoyed playing with him.
Was Brady a winner?
On the contrary, he was a heavy loser. The night before last at my club, Cunningham was forced to take his IOUs for $25,000.
Nice profit for one night. Well, I'd better forget about poker and get busy with my report. Send Miss Wilson up, will you?
Surely.
Oh, come in, Miss Wilson. I'm Sergeant O'Brien.
Yes, I know.
I'm sorry to have to ask you questions at a time like this, but it'll be best to get everything cleared up.
I understand.
Do you know any reason for your uncle committing suicide?
Not a single reason. Uncle Edward was a happy-go-lucky person. Not the type to commit suicide.
Where were you when you heard the shot?
In my room.
Where is that?
At the end of the hall.
Well, what did you do after you heard the shot?
I ran out into the hall, just in time to see Mr. Collins coming up the steps. We both went to Uncle's room and saw him dead.
And, where was Mr. Morris, his secretary?
Out on an errand, I believe. He came in about 5 minutes later.
I see. Miss Wilson, do you know Mr. Brady?
I've met the man.
You don't seem to approve of your uncle's choice of card associates.
The man is nothing more than a professional gambler. I have no use for him. Uncle showed me where he signed gambling debts amounting to $25,000.
Did you see the IOUs?
Yes.
Where did your uncle keep them?
In this drawer here. Why, that's odd. They're gone.
Gone?
Yes. I saw Uncle put them there this afternoon.
Well, perhaps Brady came by and paid them.
Well, I can soon tell you. Just as soon as I open this safe.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll look through his wallet here.
Why, there's only $100 in the safe.
Yes, and less than that in the wallet. I think we can safely assume that the IOUs were not paid. Do you recognize this gun?
Yes. It's a Camp Terry Model 22. Uncle Edward used it for target practice.
I see. You know your firearms. Did he ever attach a silencer to it?
Not that I know of. No, I'm sure he didn't. I went to the ranch with him the few times he used it.
I see. Can you tell me, Miss Wilson, what scattered the ashes in the fireplace here?
No, I can't. Look here, Mr. Sergeant. If you feel that my uncle's death is a suicide, why do you keep poking around and asking so many questions?
To answer that, my dear young lady, would be to give away a very ingenious plot. Oh, how do you do, Miss Wilson?
Why did you send your driver for me?
I thought you might like to be in on the final episode of our drama.
What do you mean?
I thought you might be interested in the outcome of my investigation.
You mean that Uncle Edward's death was not...
Was not a suicide. Your uncle, Miss Wilson, was the victim of a very cold-blooded, deliberate murder. I was fairly sure of it the first day there in your house. Since then, I've learned things that have led me to the murderer.
But who could possibly...
I've had my men trailing him for days, and I find there were 2 in on the scheme. They're in that room talking things over. If you like, we'll go in and give them a little surprise visit. Step over here with me.
Why, I can't believe it.
Are you ready for a surprise?
Yes.
All right. Oh, good evening, Mr. Morris. Don't bother getting up. Keep your seat. I believe your friend is Mr. Brady.
Why, what do you mean, breaking into my apartment this way?
I'm here on an errand, Morris. Like the one you ran for Cunningham the night he was killed. Only my errand will be completed. Morris, I arrest you and Brady for the murder of Edward Cunningham. No, you don't. Don't one of you move. We've an airtight case. You're both headed for a hangman's noose.
Do you mean that Morris, my uncle's secretary, was implicated in this dreadful affair?
I certainly do. However, he was just a pawn for Brady. Brady lost $25,000 to your uncle in a poker game. He had to get those IOUs back, so he concocted a scheme with Morris to get the IOUs and to rob your uncle's safe at the same time.
But Morris was at the drugstore. I don't see...
How the murder was accomplished?
Yes.
You remember that I asked if your uncle had ever used a silencer on the gun?
Yes.
I found the marks of a silencer on the barrel. Morris killed him with a silencer, then removed it, wiped the gun clean, put your uncle's prints on it, and left.
But what about the shot?
Scattered ashes explained that. In leaving, Morris tossed a blank cartridge into the glowing coals. In time, it exploded, giving him time to get downstairs and establish an alibi. Oh, here's the sergeant for his prisoners.